All right, so we are now live on Usapang Musiko Season 2. Thank you for joining me on this episode. It's our 21st episode for our second season. Going strong with the content. And for today's episode, let's talk about measuring your progress. Okay, so this goes out to everyone who's like feeling the struggle of not getting better, or they feel that they're not getting good enough, and maybe you need to pat yourself at the back for just being yourself. No, you have to take into account that we are living in unprecedented times, that we don't really know what's gonna happen next, and just going through the motions in what's happening. And I think just being a musician in today's time is really an achievement, or some progress can be seen or made in this current situation that we're having. All right, with that being said, let's talk about uh first is what is progress for everyone. So just like success for me, no, I think progress is not something that you can generalize for everyone. It's not the main goal or objective for everyone. Success, as we've talked about in a previous video, I think it's on the podcast episode 3, if I'm not mistaken, of season 2. We talked about different forms of success that a musician actually enjoys. No, the same thing with progress. The thing about progress is sometimes you might feel that you're not progressing enough, but for others, it may seem that you're progressing adequately or just right. No, so there's a lot of ways to measure progress, and I think we get caught up with how other people's progress is versus our own. And I think this goes out to all music students, no, especially students who are just trying out the instrument, any instrument for that matter, that progress is simply you becoming better. Okay. So it has, for you to progress and improve, you have to have this sort of a starting point. There should always be a starting point in where your progress would come from, no? Because you can say that you're better, but you can't but to say that you're better, you need to compare yourself from something. So there should always be a starting point. Okay, what should be your starting point? It's always going to go back to yourself. Because as a musician, you can't really compare yourself to other musicians, because every one of us, every single person in this earth has a different path to follow. You might be at the same path right now. For example, you're friends with a lot of musicians, of course, and you're seeing them progress faster than you, and you're feeling bad about yourself because you're not progressing at their rate. But the thing is, you're not the same person as them. So it's okay to not be at the same level as they are. The more important thing is you're becoming more aware of yourself. You're becoming better than who you were yesterday. And that's the one and only comparison that you need in order for you to track your progress. No, you don't need to compare yourself to other people. No. I have a great story that I'll share with you later, based on my personal experience, of course. Um, so let's say a lot of students, especially those beginners, no, they track progress by like the number of pieces that you play, the difficulty of the pieces, and let's say the number of scales that you can accomplish, or how fast you can play a certain etude. No, that is progress. No, that's what we can call progress, but it's not limited to those things. No, of course, your improvement will always depend on what you are doing, and it will pay off in the long run, as long as you're keeping it consistent and you master what you're doing. I think that's a level of progress that not a lot of people think about. Mastery and the consistency. Because Yeah, you can play a whole book in one sitting, but can you play it in a way that, let's say, you memorized it by heart? No, for that example, no. Can you play the whole book, a whole book memorized by heart? Or can you play it with the musicianship, the expression that you want to achieve? Or you're just breezing through it? No, those are different things. Both may be progressing, but one is better than the other. No, I always go back to having a quality, uh, or having more quality rather than quantity in terms of progression, especially in music making. Okay, you can play 100 songs, but you only master two. I'd take that the other people can only play 10 songs, but all 10 songs are mastered, or they can really, really express themselves. So who would you take? Would you take the 100 with only two mastered songs, or someone who has mastered 10 songs that they can play at a level that you would consider very, very high? No? So those are things you need to consider also, no? Because sometimes we think of the progression that we want to see, not the one we need. No, which is, yeah, for that example, having learned, let's say you know all major scales na as a beginner, but you can play it like from the lowest note to the highest note. You can play it in one simple pattern. For example, you can only play it for quarter notes, for example. Anything above that speed, you need to stop and think about the fingerings, or whatever. No, you're not mastering it. And I mean, it's progress that you know all these things, but when you if you don't master it, the skills that you need to grasp in order for you to get better in the long run will eventually slow you down. Okay, so you may be fast right now in your progress, but in the long run it would be harder for you to master anything because you just breeze through everything. No, that's where quality comes in. The time and effort that you give to perfect, for example, just one scale. For example, let's use, you perfect G major scale. So think about that. If you've perfected that scale and you're working with pieces that are on that scale, it's easier for you than someone who doesn't really practice their scales that much, maybe knows five scales but can't even play the G major scale as fast as you do. So it's harder for them to progress through their pieces because they don't really know the skills that are needed. See? So yeah, I'm not hating on those people who have more, but if you think about it, it's always a long-term process. I mean, we've said 1,000 times, that music is a lifelong journey. You can't really just say that, okay, when I reach this piece, I'm gonna end. Why? It's fun, diba? It's something very noble to do, and a lot of musicians retire when they die. So that's the thing, no? You can't really give it up because it's part of who you are, and it's really a part of your expression of being human. That's how important music is. And yeah, to be able to really celebrate your small victories. For example, if you progressed, okay, you're playing a scale, for example, at 60 beats per minute, and now you can do it at 70. That's a big leap for someone starting out. So, yeah, celebrate those small progresses, small victories, because it is totally worth it. Because again, I, I would like you to get into the long term thing of music, not the short term where, okay, even if you have a teacher, you want to learn the whole book and then that's the only thing you know. Because in music, it's not about just the piece that you play. It's the efficiency, the consistency to play at a certain level, and of course the mastery that comes with it. Because if you focus more on progressing on your skills rather than progressing on books, what I mean is progressing on pieces lang based on the difficulties of your pieces, it's better to really start out slow and develop all the necessary skills that you need, and then just breeze past through the pieces because you already know what you need to do. And that's, for me, a better way of progressing rather than doing the opposite of just learning each piece, and then by the end of it you didn't master anything. Because yeah, it's still progress, but the quality suffers, no? For me, no, of course, when we were young, we always want to have the best things. Like, okay, a friend of mine is playing this concerto. I want to play it too. No, something like that. We get sad because we're not playing those things. So for me, I had that the same experience. No, when I was in college, because of course my teacher, the late Sir Sergio Esmilia Jr., was giving me open strings for like half a semester, and I would watch recitals during my time in college that, okay, my classmates, my batchmates, people are playing these pieces that are sort of what I consider myself able to play. But the thing is, I'm only doing open strings as of the moment. So I can't really perform it, recital playing open strings because that's not approved by my teacher. No. So that's my thing. I was really, really sad. But then I realized that, okay, if they can play that and I'm playing my open strings, what if by the next month my teacher gives me a piece and I apply everything he taught me about open strings in my playing? And yeah, basically that's what happened. The next semester, I was able to join the recital. The pieces that I was given was not really the hardest ones, but I really felt the satisfaction of being able to play it, or to make it my own, to really give it my expression. The sound that I wanted was there. The way I played it was good for me. You know, my teachers loved it as well. So it's like you really have to look at how progression works for you, no? Because of course everything goes up, no? Especially in music. As a seasoned musician would say, no, time is really your best teacher. Parang experience will teach you a lot. But what if you can condense all those experiences and use it to further heighten your skills for you to progress easier in the harder task or levels that you will actually gain in music, no? It's like the same thing with online games, no? Especially MMORPGs. If you are a gamer, no? Let's talk about that. Like, you can just do the main storyline of a game and then done. You're already done. No, but you missed half of the game because you didn't do the side quests, or you didn't really max out a certain level. So when you, for example, you reach a harder level, it's harder for you to really progress when you're already too far ahead. Now, to go back, parang it would be uh I think it would hit your ego like, okay, I'm already at a level 100, but I need to go back to level 50 quest so that I can max it up, diba? The time you spent going up is like, it's gonna annoy you because you have to go back, diba? So instead of going back, take it slow, enjoy every moment of it, and that's how you progress. I mean, it's not the only way to progress, but it's a way for you to really understand yourself more and really apply all the things you need to learn, diba? Kasi as we've talked about nga, music is lifelong. You can really just say that, okay, once I played this piece, tapos na. It's the end of it. But it's not gonna happen that way. I mean, everyone who plays knows that the satisfaction is not after playing a certain piece. The satisfaction comes in when you are playing the piece, when you're interpreting it, when you are playing it for people you care about or for some of the audiences that wants to hear that piece. No, that's the most fulfilling part of playing. That's why you never stop. It's actually getting addicting. No? And if you progress at a slower rate in the beginning, you're gonna progress faster in the long game, right? Because you already went through things that you might not go through. I mean, you've already went through things that you didn't really expect that you'll go through. That's the thing, diba? Because sometimes we think that, oh, this etude is not really important because I'm not gonna play this on this certain piece that I'm learning right now. But what if the next piece that you encounter, the next piece that you need to progress to, needs that etude? So it's better to learn everything because it's already there. It's already laid out. All you have to do is work on it and absorb every bit of it so that when a piece comes in, for example, you know how to tackle that, how to work with that certain piece. Okay. So it's not always then about just a certain piece. No? Sometimes it's the way your sound matures. Because the violin itself, no, I'm talking to string players in general. Bowed strings is quite hard in a sense that you're the one making everything. You're the one making your sound, the volume, the color of the sound that you want. Everything is within you. The control is so complex that it takes a lot of time to really get your sound right. And getting your sound right is not as easy as you think. No, it's not like, okay, I've done this 1,000 times. I can do it easily. No, you still do the same exercises over and over. You still do open strings. You still warm up the same way as you did when you were a beginner. Why? Because it's really that hard to grasp all these things that you need to learn and understand in order to play these instruments. I'm not sure about other instruments, but of course they have their own difficulties as well. So those types of things really matter. That's why mastering these important things is still lifelong, no? And yeah, the main goal should be to be better than who you were yesterday. That's the only goal. I mean, the only thing you need to set yourself apart from. No, set yourself apart from who you were yesterday. And if you do that a lot of times, no, they on the daily, of course, in a few years, maybe in a few months, you'll really see the progress. But of course, it's the same thing as aging. If you are looking in the mirror every day at yourself, you don't really see that much of a difference because you're always tracking yourself. But in the long run, no, you will see a big difference from what you were doing in the past. So another thing to check is not to always look at yourself regularly. No, sometimes you don't need to. Sometimes you just have to enjoy and have fun because music is fun, right? It it may be hard, but it doesn't need to be grueling or something sad in your life because it gives you some expression, a way to share what you want to convey, the ideas, everything that you need, right? So those types of things are important. And yeah, don't try to close yourself off on the progress of others to measure yourself. The only way to measure yourself really is to work on yourself and to measure how far you've come. Take a look at what you were before. And if you have more questions, just comment down below. And thank you for joining me on my podcast today on Usapang Musiko. Um, if you haven't subscribed yet to my YouTube channel, check it out. I have a ton of content coming up. And again, we've partnered with Default Cafe Pub. If you want to order drinks over and munchies, links down in the description. Use my code ryanmonakil to get 5% off your orders. And also, I have a course on Udemy. Check it out about violin playing. And yeah, follow me on all my socials on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and a whole lot more. Of course, to Anchor Podcasts, check out my podcast. It's available on all major podcast platforms. And check me out on Spotify as well and Apple Music. All major music platforms will be releasing a ton of content soon. And yeah, thank you for joining me. This has been Usapang Musiko. I am Ryan Monakil, and I'll see you on the next one.